Now you should be able to see this full crash cover.
Yep.
It's fascinating because it was a TCA flight, North Star. They call them a prop liners. I hadn't heard of the term before.
It was
And
very noisy. I've been in one.
Okay. And as it was flying over Moosejaw, a trainer from the RCAF in Moosejaw flew up, and they were traveling in opposite directions. And the Moosejaw pilot clipped the plane tail of the Trans-Canada plane. Both planes crashed. As it says, all 35 on the TCA plane, trainer, pilot, and a woman on the ground whose house the plane was. So here's the letter that was actually inside. I didn't know anything about the ancient order of foresters. I had heard of them. And in this letter, it asked the guy to come to their annual meeting.
Foresters are like a fraternal organization, I think.
Yeah, I'll talk more about them in a sec. Yeah, what I've learned about them, it says in the bottom there that they became Foresters Financial, a $1 billion company involved in insurance. Basically a group insurance. I guess they started off as providing insurance for people in the forestry business, but it became very big, huge conglomerate. All different divisions that got sold off in parts and bits and this, but in this case, they were promoting their sick benefit and funeral benefit plans, and talking about that even they talked about some financial problems in the letter, but ultimately that's what they're asking for. And then the burned envelope was recovered by Canada Post, put inside this ambulance cover, stamped with the salvage marking here in the post office. And it's cool because it's an ambulance that's carrying this damaged cover. It's just like an ambulance carries people. And with that letter, they enclosed an explanation. It says basically this enclosed article was salvaged from the mail carried on the TCA plane that was destroyed by fire at Moosejaw. Interesting expression here that any damage occasioned the contents of this item is regretted. Very polite, very interesting language at the time. The aftermath. Well, what this was, I think this regulation that came in the ensuing investigation, they required now planes that were traveling in opposite directions to maintain separate altitudes. And we know that now because there's certain plans that if you're traveling, I don't know what the numbers are, but there's 4 different levels of standard elevations, 37, 38, 39, and 40,000, depending on whether they're flying east, west, north, or south. I don't know what the numbers are, but it looks like, based on the report here in the Wikipedia, that it was as a result of this crash that this may have been the trigger for that now global standard for planes to be trying at different elevations. They did a minor move. They moved the Moosejaw runway and they changed some rules. But that's an interesting little story.
Arnie, I have a comment about that. I remember that crash very vividly. I was living on an Air Force base. My dad was in the Air Force at Edmonton, not so far away. I was 10 years old, and I remember one of the accounts of the crash described people falling out of the sky. So it was a very vivid thing in my mind, all these years. And my dad flew the smaller hybrid planes. So it meant a lot to me, I remember.
Amazed you're not afraid of flying.
The Wikipedia report, it reports exactly that, because the tail was clipped off and the tail of the plane separated, there was luggage and people falling out of the sky.
Yeah, I never forgot that as a little kid, boy.
One of the other things about the philatelic side of this is that they are no longer called crash covers. I think maybe, I don't know for what reason, but they're now called interrupted flight covers or something like that. And the word interruption is, and I think it also includes, for example, train mails where there's been a train fire, a train accident, and a fire is interrupted. So, but it's no longer, they're not, although people still call them crash covers, but they're now trying to get people to adopt a new name. If you're doing an exhibit, for example, you wouldn't call them crash covers.